The general convention is that Lando Norris is struggling with the handling of the MCL 39 and is making a lot of errors and battling it because of his mindset, his lack of confidence, and also feeling the pressure of Piastri breathing down his neck. That may be the case, but I think that it goes a lot deeper than that. A lot of people are not paying attention to the fact that Norris has stated that he's having problems coming to grip with the MCL 39. He says that when he tries to push the limit and squeeze those last millimeters of time, it has difficulty. Sometimes it loses grip. It's just difficult to handle in general. I don't think he's making excuses. I think he's telling the truth. If you watch the preseason testing in Bahrain, both he and Piastri were struggling with that car, especially in corners. The car had a lot of front grip, a lot more front grip this year. And it was clear that it had a lot more front grip and was frontier this year. And in some of the tests, especially when they were pushing the limit, going on push laps or going for quali sims, the car was over-rotating around the middle of the corner and also over-rotating and losing stability coming off the corners. I think this is because they've made the car a lot more fronty, a lot more like the types of cars that Verstappen tries to drive. And it's very difficult to drive those types of cars unless you're someone like Leclerc or Verstappen. Those are the masters of that type of car. Back in the day, you had guys like Schumacher who could drive them. So I think that the car has a little bit more bite this year. And I think that doesn't mean they made a mistake with the progression. So what happened was they made a major change this year, whether they want to admit it or not. They changed the front rack steering. And by changing that and some other things, it makes the car a lot more fronty and everything. But it also is such a big change in the last year of this ground effect era before we go to the hybrid, in which other aspects of the car may change that you don't, that you may not foresee. This is kind of like what happened with Ferrari when they moved to a front suspension. So what I'm thinking here is that McLaren made some changes. They changed the front rack, which is a very big change because now you have to change the floor and everything. And there are some things they don't understand about that car yet, but they're going to come to grips with it. It's not that bad. And this kind of corresponds to what Norris says, in that, you know, sometimes like in traffic, the car will lose grip or it'll make some uncharacteristic changes in the dynamics, which he doesn't understand. And I can understand that because that seems to correlate with what's going on with the changes they made with the front steering and with the struggles they had in the Bahrain preseason testing. Now let's go to Piastri. Piastri has also struggled with this car, but two things. He's coped better. He's adapted, because if you look at Bahrain, he was also struggling with the car a lot more than Norris. And I was like, oh, Piastri looks like crap this year. Then when we get to Australia, he was also struggling in free practices and in qualies. He and Norris both struggled in qualies in Australia and almost didn't get a lap in Q3, I think, or was it Q2? But they had to wait to the last minute. They had to bail out a lot. Now, it seems that Piastri has solved that issue and is still making some mistakes, but not making as many as Norris is. If you look at Piastri's qualifying laps, he's still leaving about a 10th on the table because he's a little bit unsteady. Sometimes he hops on the chicanes and things like that. So I think he's still struggling with this new car, which is going to take a master to drive. Like I said, I think the guys that you would see that could really handle McLaren would be Leclerc and Verstappen. But one thing so let's go back to what I was saying before about them bailing out of laps. Norris is bailing out of a lot of qualifying laps, and he's not being able to put together all three sectors in one lap. He does very well on sectors, like in a qualifying, he'll have the fastest times for all three sectors, but never in one lap. So he's still struggling with it. But where Piastri is now is that he's struggling with it, but what he's doing is that he's not pushing it to the limit the way that Norris is trying to do. So he's not pushing it so hard that he makes mistakes. Whereas Norris is trying to get every inch out of that car. I don't think Piastri is trying to do that because Piastri is playing it conservative. But we have to say that Piastri has greatly improved, because last year he was not a qualifier. I didn't even think he was a performance guy, to be honest with you. I thought he was a guy with racecraft and who's cold-blooded and can do things during the race. But now, I wouldn't say race class, but he's a good racer. But he's gotten better, but he's still staying within his limits, which is smart. He's pushing it. And I think that with that type of mentality that he has, with each week, he's going to get better and better in qualifying, and that's going to make him very dangerous. And it's also going to make him the biggest enemy of Norris and the biggest enemy of Verstappen because the guy is getting better. This is just his third year, and he has the pedigree. F1, F2 champion, F3 champion. Now he's leading the championship drive. So that's why so now he's leading the championship. So I think he can only get better, and his ceiling is nowhere near. Now let's go back to Lando Norris. So Norris is struggling with the handling of this car, and we saw he had a crash out in Saudi, and he struggled in Japan and Suzuka in qualifying. He struggled also in Bahrain, where I think he came P6 or P7. So he's having troubles. It's not just the handling of the car, though. It's also his mindset. The guy is not focused. He's beating himself up with negative talk. And at the same time, he's looking and seeing that what was supposed to be his year. He said 2025 is my year. I actually believed it, but he overlooked the fact that he had a dragon breathing right on his team, breathing down his neck. And at the same time, he's still worrying about Verstappen, and people are getting in his head saying that Verstappen said, oh, if I was driving the McLaren car, I'd be miles ahead. That pissed off Norris. Norris, don't get pissed off. Find some focus. And here's where I want to differentiate Norris from Piastri. Piastri is low-key in interviews. He doesn't say much and everything, but I've looked into his eyes, and I see he has a lot of emotional reserve and control, but he's using it to solve problems on the track and to focus on the track. So he has the same type of passion that a Norris would have or a Verstappen would have, but he spends all of his energy on the track. If you looked after Verstappen beat him in qualifying in the Saudi Grand Prix, he looked angry. His face was red. I've never seen that much emotion come from him. So a lot of people think he's stoic and unemotional. I don't think so. I just think that he channels it very well into what he has to do. And then when he's not racing or not trying to qualify or not trying to focus on how to get better, he's low-key because he's guarding his energy. He does it, we know that Verstappen has infinite amounts of energy, but sometimes he lets his emotions get in his way or he gets desperate. I think the move he made on Piastri, where he went out and didn't give the place back, that was a sign, that was a reflection of the sometimes erratic passion that Verstappen has.